A tool we want to add to our advanced level rhythm guitar toolbox is cross-picking. When we think about the great rhythm players in bluegrass, people like Tony Rice is the one that comes to my mind, Clarence White, they were able to integrate cross-picking in their boom chuck rhythmic style. It's a great way to add some interest. Again, one of the things we note about strum embellishments is that, at the ends of phrases, for instance, that's a great place to kind of involve more strumming, raise the dynamic, just help support everything, kind of keep a good structural integrity and awareness alive in the band. And cross-picking can kind of do a similar thing. It calls on us to recognize qualities of our motion that we can apply to the skill. That's one of the things we can get started immediately as we integrate cross-picking with a boom chuck rhythm. So, just an initial demonstration here, and I'll give a couple of different key centers and a couple of other examples later, but just to kind of really hone in on what we're aiming for here is a smooth boom chuck, right hand. And so, for instance, I might go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2. If this is one bar, half the bar is a boom chuck, the other half is eighth note cross picking. If I go from a C chord, so as we talked in the cross picking introduction video in the intermediate curriculum, we want to be aware of qualities of our motion as they do affect qualities of our sound. When I am aware, when I can work to notice more about those qualities, the openness or the flexibility of my wrist, that helps me manage my tension. A lot of times when I see folks cross-pick, we tend to use tension to try to enforce a certain kind of accuracy on the string. We tighten up. And so the goal here, and again, it's challenging. I don't submit this as easy. But when I can allow that quality of motion, that openness and flexibility, when I can associate that with the cross-picking, or in this specific case, the transition from the strumming to the cross-picking, I'm gaining more of that positive effect, which is nice connected notes, good sustain, that kind of thing. You don't hear lots of choppiness. So what I want to do here, as far as having some concrete things to work on, for this exercise 1 is use what we've used all through the site here, kind of a 1-4-5-1 chord structure. I'm going to show this to you in 3 different keys, and so we'll start here in the key of G at 75 beats a minute. I'm going to play kind of what I was just doing there, some boom chuck and some cross picking, and kind of alternate back and forth. 1, 2, ready, go. So again, I would encourage you to do more of that. These are just examples of kind of how to get this exercise started. Certainly for any level of our conversation here, I'm going to encourage variety as far as maybe length of those chords, tempos, feels, that kind of thing. But just to talk about a couple things that we want to notice even as I'm playing this here today in the key of G. Like we said earlier in the introduction to the advanced curriculum toolbox, maybe multiple things happening at once. In this case, what was happening also, along with rhythm and cross-picking, was kind of an alternating bass motion. I was starting the cross-picking on the note that I was alternating to, which again, in our back in the basic curriculum, the roots and the fifths, root, fifth, G, D, but it's on that D, that fifth, where I was starting the cross-picking. When I went to C, right, it could have been, that kind of sounds a little static, a little more mechanical. That rocking back and forth bass adds to the general kind of musicality and the flow of everything. So again, just an opportunity at this advanced level to notice kind of layers of things happening. But ultimately, as I'm trying to just notice Again, easier said than done, but just notice that more open and flexible version of myself, trying not to fall into the trap of trying to enforce that accuracy. That's really what we work on here in integrating cross-picking in our rhythm playing. Another thing that you may have seen, and I'll admit that I was doing some of this on purpose, is moments where the cross-picking was a little less intricate than others. You know, ultimately, we can aim for, but maybe I hear something like this. Right? That's kind of a little hybrid thing where I'm cross-picking and then just kind of a little flip up, down, up, flip down, up with the pick. And I have to tell you, that doesn't necessarily come from a real conscious effort all the time. I was kind of making it happen there for the purpose of discussion, but when we are engaged with cross-picking in our rhythm, we're going to be playing, again, with hopefully a lot of variety and embracing different tempos, faster, slower, and sometimes, you know, just because if something's really fast, as we talked about as another tool in the toolbox, less is more. A lot of times when we're playing fast, you know, if I can kind of have the element of cross-picking, but not really, again, force myself to feel like I've got to cram all these notes in at a faster tempo, maybe something like that happens. And kind of that effect is still there, that sort of eighth note flowing kind of sound, taka-taka. But I'm not so kind of bent and kind of forcing the idea of cross-picking. So again, as we look a little more even conceptually with this idea as a tool in the toolbox, just know that that may happen. What I want to do now is give you a couple other demonstrations of this. Again, 1-4-5-1, I'm going to give a demonstration here in the key of C, just to sort of kind of give, again, with this exercise one kind of focus, kind of a hybrid alternating back and forth between strumming and this cross-picking. So here's the key of C at 75 beats a minute. 1, 2, ready, play. It's important to practice these different keys because you're going to notice different notes to start on as far as the cross-picking. Again, within the idea of variety, maybe we're not targeting specific strings every time, and it's just good to be able to operate in different keys in the first place. So here's an example out of the key of D. 1, 2, ready, play. So again, as we wrap this up, I want you to play these exercises. I'd love to see some video submissions of just these little 1-4-5-1 kind of loops, if you will, where we're really working to just notice the strumming and the cross-picking kind of existing together. Not trying to complicate or make things too complex yet. We'll get into that in exercise 2. But really stress the idea as you're working on exercise 1, the idea of variety. Slight tempos, slower, faster, different keys. Again, I'm giving you 3 keys here. Generally speaking, practicing these kind of things in G, C, and D are effective to kind of cover a lot of ground because we'll use a capo a lot in bluegrass for other keys. So this can get a lot of fundamental experience started. So we'll move on to exercise 2 next.